And we are live, and welcome so much. And we are in the postgraduate diploma, the PGDID of Innovation Design Thinking pre-program information session. No matter where you are in the world, whether it's your morning, your afternoon, or your evening, like it is here in Australia, in Sydney, where I'm based, I'm wishing you, hoping that you are safe and that your families are safe and your loved ones and that you are all good. Thank you again, once again, for joining. If you are on chat and you got the chat underneath you, that's great. I'd love to see a hello. Hopefully you can all hear me. Wonderful. Feel free to drop into chat what city and country you're in. I think that's always very interesting to know just what a range we have in terms of geographies. And let's dive straight in. We're going to be talking a little bit about the course, about Emeritus, about the certificate. We're going to be talking about all the various aspects to this diploma and why it is such a life-changing diploma. I can say that pretty much everyone I've spoken to who has gone through this diploma has just said that it's made a major impact on their careers and on their prospects, career prospects. I see we have people coming in from Kingston, Jamaica. Welcome to Andrea. Welcome to Kavith from Malaysia. Wonderful to have you with us. And Andrea, who's coming in from Kingston, Jamaica. Wonderful. Welcome to everyone who has joined us. If it's possible, if you are able to switch your settings from, if you look at your chat at the bottom, you will see it says 2, and the default for that is panelists. What that means is only myself and my colleagues here at Emeritus will be able to see your comments. If you want your comments to be seen by everyone, in the all your future fellow students, then please do make sure, like Andrea, you have changed it to all panelists and attendees. And then way everyone can see everyone's comments, and that would be fantastic. So welcome, Andrea. And one thing I learned when I was working with a team from Kingston, Jamaica, is that they love to say respect when they begin. And so respect. Thank you, Andrea, for joining us. Respect to you and respect to everyone else here. All right, let's keep diving. We are at 11. 11 of you are here, and that's fantastic. And hopefully that will grow as well. And from the Philippines, wonderful. Enough respect. I love it. I love it. I still haven't visited. I was meant to visit my client. You're probably familiar with Sagicor Group, Andrea. That's my client in Jamaica. I was meant to visit, and 1 week before my flight to deliver training there, COVID happened, and all the flights were cancelled, and it was impossible to reach Jamaica with all the borders closed and no one flying. So one day I do hope to come back. Wonderful. We have Sanjeev coming in from Toronto, Canada. Very cold place in winter. I don't know how you do that, Sanjeev. I remember being there in winter and it's dropping like to minus 30, minus 35 Celsius. So you must be a very tough. You must have gotten very tough in that cold. So well done for that. Vikash from Australia, but mostly Darling from India. Wonderful. Looking forward as well. Great. Let's talk just very quickly. I'll introduce myself so you know who is. By the way, can you all see the image and hear me okay? No issues there? Just a quick yes or a smiley face. Wonderful, 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 wonderful. All right. So I have been, my background, as you can see, is quite varied, but I have over 30 years actually of marketing and combined marketing and innovation work behind me. I've been leading and teaching with Emeritus for almost 4 years now, whilst at the same time teaching MBA courses both in Australia and overseas, online and face-to-face. And I really miss the face-to-face. I don't know about you, but I love. I think online learning is fantastic, but face-to-face is something that is also that we love. But the great thing about online learning is it just gives us so many advantages that face-to-face doesn't give, and we'll talk about those advantages here. And of course, one of the advantages is that you are able to learn with people from all over the world and from different geographies and different backgrounds, and that's great for networking and for team building and for a lot of soft skills that you get along together with the innovation skills that you learn. So just coming back to my background, so I'm as I said, I've been teaching with Emeritus whilst consulting and developing startups. I'm co-founder with Professor Jacob Goldenberg, who actually will present the breakthrough innovation model to you, which is based on SIT. I'm co-founder of the Omnivati platform. You're more than welcome to have a look at that in your spare time. And my MBA is from IDC in Herzliya, and my main value that I bring to you as your course leader is not just the academic background, but really a lot of work with clients, with tier 1 clients, including Ernst & Young, including Intel, SanDisk, Hero Group in India. We actually spent 6 weeks in India working with Hero, and I can proudly say that 2 of the ideas that came up from the group that I mentored through the innovation process are now companies in India. They've actually been turned into one's a product to do with their motorcycle range, and one is a new service. So very proud of that work. And yes, I think innovation is something that we should all have enough knowledge about, even if we're not going to be innovation managers. It's a game changer in terms of careers and in terms of how we leverage it. So let's have a look at how this diploma actually does that. First of all, a few words about Emeritus. I think, once again, Emeritus, when I tell people that I work with Emeritus, I'm really proud of that. And I think one of the most innovative aspects of Emeritus and of this diploma, which, like all wonderful ideas, is something that you think, well, why didn't they think about that before? It's just so obvious. And that is that a diploma like this actually takes the best courses from the best universities and puts them together into a single diploma, and that would have been unheard of before online. Can you imagine physically going to 3 different universities that are geographically dispersed? That's just nuts. Whereas online, you can actually do what we call in the industry well, I spent a lot of time in the high-tech industry. Anyone else here from high-tech? Just a quick a smiley face if you're working in high-tech or you've had some connection with the high-tech industry. Am I the only one from high-tech, and the rest of you are all from consulting companies? No one from high-tech. That's amazing. I'm totally blown away that's the case. Okay, that's fine. So I think this is a really great idea, and that is that you can do what's known as best of breed with Emeritus, and you can take the best courses from the best universities and put them together and create a hybrid diploma that does that, and that is really great. You can see that the network now encompasses universities from the best universities from all over the world, including mostly Ivy League universities in the US and top universities such as Cambridge and INSEAD in Europe, with over 66,000 students who have taken these courses. It's really very, very impressive. Since I think 5-6 years since Emeritus has been operating, more or less. So I think that's really interesting. The diploma overview. Now it says 4 to 6 hours per week. I would say, and I want to be very, very transparent, I would say probably more towards the 6 than the 4. You could probably get away with 4. I would say barely just. I think if you're putting in the 6 hours, you will definitely get a lot more value out of that. The course is a hybrid course. The diploma is made of hybrid courses, meaning that you get your knowledge not only from videos from great short videos from great professors in the schools of MIT, Columbia, and Dartmouth, but you also get a lot of real-time and non-real-time live help as well. So you have course leaders such as myself who teach at university, who have clients and they consult with on innovation. And one thing that I really love to do is I love to bring in a lot of case studies during live sessions that I provide. And we have two types of live sessions. We have webinars, which bring in additional tools to the courses that are to do with these courses. And also we have office hours. Anyone who remembers from the university days, office hours basically means you walk into my office and ask questions. We have it slightly more structured, but we definitely have very regular office hours. That means you're able to come in and get any of your queries answered. We recap the material, and I provide you with tips for upcoming diplomas and show you past answers and mistakes that were made and mistakes to avoid, and how you can really maximize both your knowledge and your grades. So that's really powerful aspect of Emeritus course, combining the best diploma in PGDID in postgraduate diploma in innovation design thinking, is that it combines the best courses, and there's a lot of live elements, and you get to work in teams as well, very much with industry examples and cases and discussions and quizzes. So lots and lots of content and lots of ways of ensuring that you are learning that content in a really good way. By the way, if you have questions, please throw them into Q&A, and I will stop periodically, look at the questions, and answer your questions. I don't want this to just be a monologue. I do want you to ask questions as well. If there are questions about academic aspects of the diploma, I will be more than happy to answer them. If they're more about the logistics and financials, then one of our experts from Emeritus who is on the panel will answer you. So that's why Q&A is a really good place to put those questions. All right, I can see so far there's no questions, which means everything is really clear, or nothing is clear and I've totally lost you. I hope it's the first and not the second. Usually it's the first. Right, course completion rate, very quickly. Course completion rate is high. I would say for this diploma, it's higher than 85%, and that's because the work is just so interesting and so challenging that not only that, we also give a lot of help to people who find any of the aspects of the course difficult, and you can get that help in the office hours, as well as by writing directly to me via Canvas, which is the platform you'll be using, and asking me questions. And I give myself a fairly strict SLA of 24 to 48 hours to get those questions answered. Usually I do it even earlier. So definitely a lot of care has been put in to create a system that will ensure that you are learning, that you're enjoying the learning, and that learning is going to be relevant to you. And I think that's what this slide is talking about here. So we can pretty much skip that. All right, very quickly, we're going to look at 3 of the courses. We'll start with design thinking. Design thinking, as you can see here, is based on, in the MIT approach, the magic acronym is RWW, Real Win Worth It. To me, it's a really powerful best practice approach to innovation. Has anyone here done design thinking? Just put a smiley face if you have had an opportunity to take part in the design thinking team before, just so we get an idea. Usually there's a few people who've had some experience with design thinking. I can tell you right now, design thinking, as former head of internal innovation at Amdocs, I can tell you design thinking is probably the most important and now the most obvious tool to be using for innovation. When I say obvious, I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean that very positively. Think of design thinking as a base. It's really 101. It's something that you can keep learning of your whole life and getting more and more experience in. But there is a base of knowledge. And the great thing about this course, the first course you'll be doing is the design thinking course, is that you actually come out of this course with the experience of doing a team project, because you'll be working in teams, on a real world commercial, or it doesn't have to be commercial. By the way, in my last group, I've had five of the students in the cohort were from the United Nations, and they were doing the challenge that they chose. By the way, you get to choose your challenge as a team. We don't force a challenge on you. So there's pretty much complete freedom. I don't remember. I think once I tweaked a challenge and I got them to pivot. But for the most part, we accept pretty much all challenges, so long as we see that there's enough interest and there's enough meat in that challenge to give you the ability to work in solving it. So you get to choose your own challenge. And let me quickly take you through Real Win Worth It, and then we'll move on to the other courses. So Real Win Worth It, it's the MIT approach, as I said. What it says is as follows. It's not enough to just have an idea, obviously. When you start with a challenge, you got to make sure that the idea that you develop, there's a real need for it. So I may be a huge fan of mustard ice cream. Okay, obviously I'm making that up. I think mustard ice cream is going to be pretty disgusting, but maybe there's a small market in the world who will like mustard ice cream. But let's say I'm a huge fan. I've got really weird taste buds. I think mustard ice cream is a great invention. It's what the world needs in ice cream. And I think, yes, this is what's going to make millions for my ice cream company or for myself as a startup. Without going into the market and seeing if there's a need for a mustard ice cream, I'm not really acting very smartly if I try to develop it. I know this is a very banal example. The examples we deal with are obviously much more complex challenges that you discover. But we will teach you how to identify real user needs. And you will start with challenges, and you will learn about empathy. You will learn about concepts such as immersion and observation and interviewing, how to interview. We have a webinar dedicated. Pretty much no one teaches how to interview. And what I've learned from working with clients is a lot of time clients create design thinking teams, and then they send those teams out to collect information from the marketplace and to learn about unmet needs and to learn about user needs, and they come back with very shallow information. So even if you do the whole process of design thinking well, if the input is poor, then clearly you're going to have a poor output that's not going to be very innovative. So we teach you how to really understand what the user needs are, to really understand unmet needs and understand pain points. And then we will teach you different techniques of how to go from unmet user needs and pain points to solution concepts, to ideas that you could then examine and weigh up against each other. And that's where the win is, right? The win is, can you actually create a solution? Is that solution going to be better? Can you win? Can you beat the competition? Is that solution going to be better than what the competition can provide? And then, of course, we consider financials. Anyone knows what NP, without Googling it, anyone knows what NPV stands for? Can anyone type in without Googling it? Only if you know it. And if you don't know it, that's also okay. Net present value. Thank you, Sanjeev. So it's a financial term, and I see quite a few people know that. Very good. So we don't have any assumed financial knowledge. If you haven't done an MBA or you haven't done a degree in finance or commerce or economics, that's totally fine. Everything will be explained. But just to show you that this is a serious course, we don't just say, hey, this is a great idea. There's a need for it, and we can create it. Let's go and do it. We look at financials. We show you how to create a net present value Excel, and how to, we talk about discount rates and all those different aspects. We talk about designing for the environment. This is what DFE stands for. You can see it in number 6. This is something that's also very crucial and I think very important. I think you'll agree with me today. And that's to make sure that the design of your solution meets environmental needs. By the way, do you think that an app has designed for the environment implications? Ayub, DFE, designed for the environment. And Ayub, you are set to, a lot of you are still set to old panelists. You will get a lot more value from the session if you switch your to default to panelists and attendees. So yeah, DFE, I'll quickly write it in, design for the environment, very, very important. So can apps affect the environment? A lot of people think that apps don't really affect it, but they only affect it in terms of a cooling service, using electricity for air conditioning and running service. You'd be surprised. The way you design an app, for example, Uber, would you think that changes to the design of Uber and the competitors of Uber, of ride sharing, can have an impact for the environment? Who thinks yes? That the app can affect the behavior of people, and the way you price it can actually have an impact on the environment. Would anyone agree with that? Yeah, absolutely. And you think about even Uber offering you to share the ride with other people for a cheaper price. If they didn't offer that, then the ability to share rides with others, strangers, is just not going to be available. So how you design your app, yes, consumer behavior, absolutely. Andrea, no one can see your comment because you are set to all panelists. So with all that respect, please change your setting to all panelists and attendees, and then you can repeat your comment again. All right, wonderful. So that's, and we finish design thinking with a capstone, meaning that we will do a project that basically creates a pitch for your idea, where you cover all of the aspects that you learned in the course, and then we select the best 3 presentations and share them in the final webinar. And we play a little game where you get to have you heard of Meet the Sharks? Do you have Meet the Sharks or Shark Tank in your country? Have you heard of this TV show? Is that available in your country? Basically, where you're pitching it to experts, and we play a kind of a Shark Tank game where selected teams get to pitch their ideas, and then the audience, which is everyone else, whether you're selected to present or not, gets to ask questions. And you can put on different hats. You can be an investor, you can be a potential customer, you can be a regulator, you can be a supplier. Very, very exciting and lots of fun. I really believe that fun is an important part of learning. If you don't have fun in your learning, then that's just not a lot of fun. Which is a tautology, I know, and it's obvious, but again, fun, very important. Dragons, dragon tank. I'll have to look that up, Andrea. I wasn't aware of that. All right, quick word about your course faculty. Professor Steve Eppinger, an absolute hero, an absolute legend in the design thinking world, with MIT, General Motors leader, professor of management, wrote a whole bunch of books, which for some reason that slide is not here with these books. But if you Google him and Google his books, you will see a lot of work. He will be presenting the videos to you, and your course leader will be taking you through and providing you all of that additional information and live sessions. All right, we're going to do a little design thinking exercise right now. I bet you didn't expect that. I'm going to ask you to watch a movie, a very short clip. I think it's only about 30 seconds long or so. But what I want you to do, and this is a great, thank you. Wonderful. I'm just going to quickly copy that so I have that, and I will look at it after the webinar. Thank you, Andrea. So what I want you to do is avoid our natural instinct. And our natural instinct when it comes to innovation, do you know what it is? Is to try and come up with solutions immediately, to try and think of what a solution is. I know that it's all what we want to do, is we want to solve problems and find solutions. You'd be surprised that there is a step beforehand. And we spoke about that step, and that step is understanding needs, right? Understanding you can't solve a problem unless you really understand what needs are not being met. So when you're watching this, what I want you to do is start with observation, and I want you to observe the following. Right? It's going to be about a bike messenger. That's a bit of a spoiler. What's he doing? What's around him? Conditions of the road, riding. Where these are just examples. You can think of other things. I want you to start with observations. So please type in your observations as you're watching the video. And after you've typed in your observations, we're going to have a quick little chat about needs, and then we'll move on to the other courses. Are we all ready? Let's do that. Let's stop the share. Oops, excuse me. My camera here is deciding to be a bit funny. All right. What we're going to do now is we are going to go and watch the video. So let me do a share screen. Share volume is on. Here's the movie. Let's watch it. Oh, sorry. That wasn't the beginning. Let's start again.
Yeah, I'm headed there now. Okay, on my way. Good.
You're good?
Yeah. No, it's okay. Yeah. That's why no talk on the phone when you're.
All right, that was very, very fast. I hope you managed to get a few things. You could even get it just by looking at this frame. What can you say about this bike deliverer? Any observations? Yes, brilliant, Vikash. Exactly. He's got multitasking needs. He's got mobility and communication that he has to worry about. Very, very good. What else? Who else can add to what they've observed? The location. What can you say about the location, Roger? So what's your observation about the location? All these observations can be very, very important. Finding locations, right. His ability to find his location, it's an issue for him, right? No one even is mentioning the fact that he's holding his device in his hand. He's not well equipped. There's high traffic. There's a problem in yes, exactly. What else? He needs to. So Sanjeev, now you're jumping to the need. Okay, so oh, I see. No, you're talking. Okay, he needs to find the fastest. We see that because he's not finding. We can observe the fact that he's maybe not using the best route. So let's wait with our solutions and just observe. That's what you would do in a design thinking project. Obviously, you wouldn't just use observations. You would interview bike couriers as well. By the way, Uber actually has Uber employees join the couriers on their journey to see what problems couriers face. So that's really doing design thinking with observation. So observation here is actually immersion, because you don't just observe, you can actually get your design thinking team member to be a bike delivering person for a day and find out what a bike deliverer actually has to go through. In and out, not being able to bring the bike in. Very good, Roger. So that's another problem, right? And from that, we can then, once we've understood and observed and interviewed and immersed ourselves, we can actually see what those needs are, and we can start selecting needs that are not being met by the market, right? Or are not being sufficiently well met by the market, and bidding the competition to create solutions that are actually useful for our target market, for our stakeholder, for our user. Okay, so again, just very, very small example, but the philosophy behind it is really powerful, and of course we'll do it iteratively. And what you will find also, design thinking is very much based on the philosophical approach. And I don't mean philosophy in a kind of highfalutin way, but in terms of like the way that innovation is approached. If you haven't read this book, it's not a prerequisite for the course, but you will see design thinking very much puts this this philosophy into practice. And that's the Lean Startup by Eric Ries. Anyone here read it? Just out of interest, it's okay if you haven't, but strong recommendation just as a 101 to innovation if you haven't done that yet. All right, you can see some sample designs. We will do prototyping and prototyping, low fidelity prototyping of products and services and processes, whatever it is you decide ultimately should be the solution. You can see here's an example of an actual product that was created. They pivoted to include motorbikes, and you can see that here. And that's very interesting to see how you will also learn to pivot during this course, because pivoting is really important. Everyone is familiar with the pivot concept. I hope so. Does anyone know what YouTube was before it pivoted to become what it is today? I bet you no one, I would be very surprised if anyone knows it here. I only found out when I was researching pivoting. Anyone know? Please don't Google it. YouTube was originally built as a dating site where you would upload a video about yourself, so for potential partners to choose you on a dating site. Um, so that's something that I didn't know until I looked up pivoting and saw examples such as YouTube. All right, we've spoken about design thinking, how important it is, how really it's a must. This is what we call today a must-have knowledge. Must-have knowledge. Even if you're not going to be an innovation manager, you will see that having design thinking and the other courses we do here behind you are really a game changer for you, for your career, and for how you understand business as well. We connect a lot of different interesting business cases here. Multiple companies are using it. Very few mid to large scale companies are not using design thinking today. I think it's if you looked at the world about 10 years ago, when I was working as a manager of innovation at Amdocs, it was still something that companies were not really sure about whether they should use it and what the value is today. That question is moot. It's been answered. Yes, it's useful. Yes, it works. And yes, it's the way to go. It's one of the most important methods in innovation and customer centricity, right? Understanding and creating and designing products and services and processes that are centric to the customer's real needs. By the way, whenever I say customer, I tell this to my students, I'm actually meaning stakeholder, because you can take, and this is another amazing thing I want to tell you about design thinking. You can take design thinking and apply it not only to users and customers, who, by the way, are different. They may be different, like children are the users and parents are the customers of games, for example, or education for children, but also for other stakeholders, right? Such as, you can probably think of some right now that are not customers, suppliers, regulators, partners, all of these. And if you want to know who these stakeholders can be, look up a little thing. I'm going to just give you a few things to look up. It's not homework. It's totally voluntary. You can decide whether you want to do it or not. Does anyone know what the BMC is? BMC is the business model canvas. It's a real powerful way of capturing and mapping the 9 elements of your business model. And it's worth investigating and being familiar with and knowing how to use the BMC, both as a way of mapping and as a way of making changes. All right, so yes, you'll know how to use the real win framework. You'll know how to identify needs and how to use that to generate products. Any examples of applying it to build solutions? Ask Nishant. Nishant, again, please, like everyone else, do update yourself to panelists and attendees by just going to the 2 drop down and using the drop down to choose all panelists and these. Yes, there's plenty of examples of applying it to build solutions. Again, depends what you call solutions. Airbnb was in the doldrums and was making $200 a week. $200 a week was the income of Airbnb until they started using design thinking. It's a great example. Look it up on Google if you can, how Airbnb used design thinking to basically turn from a loss-making company to the unicorn that it became. Uber Eats applies design thinking for its solutions. I hope by solutions you mean solutions provided to customers, but plenty of examples that we can talk about from banks, financial companies, government agencies in Australia. I can tell you that in Australia, in Sydney, anyone here with me from? Oh, there was a gentleman from Australia, but also from India. So you'd be surprised. The New South Wales. I'm in Sydney, which is in the state of New South Wales. The New South Wales Police used design thinking to ensure a reduction of violence by drunken patrons on the streets, and actually use design thinking to provide a solution to unsafe streets by making the streets a lot safer and more friendly for people who want to go out and enjoy themselves. In AI ML consulting solution context, sure, you can bring it to AI and machine learning. Question, how does design thinking framework compare to outcome-driven innovation framework, or are they almost the same? Great question. I'm not sure I'm going to have ability to go into all of these details. Design thinking, remember, it's just like outcome-driven innovation framework. It's also a best practice process. Each of these processes have their own specific tools, and that's one of the ways that they differ. Hospitals, absolutely, Metro South hospitals. If you want to see a great example, then MRI, I'm pretty sure it was General Electric, MRI machine, and applying, you'll see a lot of design thinking used in creating solutions for hospitals and for public services, and not just for corporations, which is why I love design thinking, because it's what we call it's industry agnostic. Are you all familiar with the word agnostic? It means that it's applicable to every industry, and it's also structure agnostic. So it's equally applicable to for-profit, for non-for-profit, NGOs, non-government organizations. Very, very powerful in that sense. So really must have knowledge. Okay, we have about 24 minutes left, and I do want to make sure we get some time for questions. I'm going to share with you a quick story that will introduce breakthrough innovation. This is about the battle between the Delhi Sultanate against the Mongols back in 1398 with Timur Khan, and he didn't know. I don't know how he had such poor intelligence. Intelligence not in his brain, I mean, but in terms of understanding what the enemy is doing. When the Indian and the Mongol forces met, he didn't realize that the Delhi Sultanate had 120 elephants. Though any of those of you who are interested in military history will know that the elephant was like, I don't know, what would you say it? Would you say it's like the tank of the time? It definitely was the game changer at the time, a well-trained elephant in battle. And Timur Khan had to find a solution. And what we learn here is that his solution was in the closed world. So he didn't go out far. He didn't have time to buy elephants and train them. He didn't have time to bring in consultants to explain. He had to find a solution here and now. Does anyone know how he solved the problem? He had to go to battle against the elephants. Anyone know what he did to fight the elephants? If you don't know, I'll give you the answer. A lot of people say mice. Did he collected mice? Roger, mobility. I'm not sure what you mean by mobility and distance, but please update yourself to all panelists and attendees, because no one can see your interesting comments until you do that. What he actually did, he used the closed world concept to find a solution that was within reach and accessible. And what he did is he gathered all the weeds and the haystacks that you see around. He tied it to the camels. He removed the rider, but he burned the haystacks and the weed, and he made the camels run into the elephants whilst they're burning. And the burning camels scared the elephants so much that the elephants got frightened, turned around, and started running away, stampeding on the soldiers of the army behind him. So very interesting how we can use the problem as a means of finding a solution. And you'll find that breakthrough innovation allows you to do that. Professor Goldenberg, dear friend and colleague, and very, very interesting, intelligent professor, a very humble man. He wrote the book that you can see here, which again is not a prerequisite, but all the books that we talk about here, if you read them, they will only give you interest and value inside the box. Inside the box, meaning that you don't have to think outside the box. Breakthrough innovation is based on thinking inside the box, meaning thinking and seeing what you can do with what you have. And again, I don't have time to really go into all the concepts here, but it's a very interesting concept. Roger is saying, I thought he had used the archers and long range like the Parthians did to the Romans. It's possible that he did that as well, Roger. I'm not aware of that, but his solution, his famous solution, was burning that hay on the camels and rushing them towards the elephants. Sanjeev has read the book. That's great. Inside the box, I have it here proudly on my shelf. It's one of my favorite books. Yes, so we can look that up. So let's just continue with that. You will learn about interesting concepts such as closed world, such as functions follows form. You'll learn about structural and functional fixedness. Now, one of the things that stops us from being innovative is the fact that we have fixedness, that as we grow up, we cannot think, we look at an object, and I will take the first object at hand, which is my pen, and we can't imagine that object being anything but it is. And one of the great innovations with pens, by the way, using SIT, is the pen is multiplication, is multiplying the ink and the ink tube to create multiple different colored pens in one pen. But we will learn about that when we look at multiplication. By the way, two-stage password security, where you not only type in your password, but you have a password sent to your cell phone, to your smartphone, is also an example of multiplication. Lots of very interesting examples. Unfortunately, I don't have the time to teach you the course, but all of these you will find really fascinating in terms of how the SIT, the systematic inventive methodology works. And what you will find is that you will get to know these tools very well. Systematic inventive thinking, SIT. I didn't finish my sentence. And these are tools that are used by top companies such as Google, Intel, Toyota, Amazon to continuously innovate their already innovative products and services. Okay, let's talk about the last course. Well, actually, it's not the last course. The last course is the Capstone, which is a course where you do a 6-week assignment, 5-part assignment over 6 weeks, where you put all the information you have together to create a new product or service based on a real challenge, and you use all 3 courses that you learned to do that. So before we start talking about strategic innovation, by the way, this is the only diploma as well that combines both tactical and strategic courses. And strategic innovation is something that most people that that I speak about innovation to don't even realize that their knowledge of innovation is so narrow that when they think they're doing innovation, they're actually doing a very small part of what innovation is. Most people innovate what they're currently doing. They look at their current business and they think, how can I do what I'm doing better or cheaper to reduce the cost or more efficiently? No one thinks about how can I disrupt my business model to create future products and future services that will be relevant because the world is changing. And this is why the strategic course is so interesting, because it takes you beyond your current business and makes you think about future businesses that you should be creating based on obviously your current competencies, but also based on how the world is changing. Okay. Vikash is saying nowadays, most of the time, simple continuous improvement is confused. I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you. And when I consult to companies, Vikash, I find it fascinating that people think that they equate R&D with innovation, and they equate product improvement with innovation, and they don't realize that. Think about the camera. How many of you still own a camera, like that's not part of a and that you use that camera that's not part of a phone? Very few people do. The whole camera market has completely been pretty much destroyed, apart from a small segment of professionals who use it for journalism or paparazzi or whatever it is, because everyone's got a camera in their phone. Now, think about this continuous improvement, Vikash and everybody else. It doesn't matter if I innovate my cameras and keep making my cameras better and better. When the phone comes and has the camera already in the phone, that pretty much kills my market, unless I stay a niche player. right? So just continuously improving what I'm currently doing doesn't mean that I'm going to survive and thrive in the future. I have to think about where the world is going, how the world is changing, and what new products and services I should be making based on my current skills, of course. Um, and you see that, by the way, in the most innovative companies. You see what we call box tree innovation. Is everyone familiar with Tesla? Obviously, what did Tesla innovate? Does anyone know what else Tesla created as an innovative product that they're selling beyond the electric cars, or what SpaceX created beyond trips to space? Because these are innovations on top of innovations. These are Elon Musk realized that he can't just rely on Tesla. He has to look at how he can leverage that. And what it, with Tesla, obviously, is batteries, right? Batteries that can connect with solar systems and store energy. And what they did with SpaceX was look at how to take SpaceX beyond just transporting for a bigger contractor for NASA and transporting to the space station, but also by creating a telecommunication, a set of telecommunication satellites that will provide mobile phone services that will compete with the leading tier one mobile service providers on Earth. So very, very interesting. Vikash is also asking, would be keen to understand the linkage between or the difference between SIT and systems thinking. And there's so many things I would love to discuss. Vikash, if you're really, really interested, there are sources about this online. I would say look at the background of SIT. SIT is based on TRIZ. I'll just quickly type it here in case anyone is interested. TRIZ. TRIZ is actually a Russian or a Soviet-based innovation system that started in the 50s by a Soviet naval engineer known as Altshuler, and he created this system of innovation for engineers that is brilliant, but so complex it takes like over 6 months to fully learn how to apply it. SIT takes principles from TRIZ and makes it usable by people who are not complex engineers, people who work with marketing and with products and with product management, etc. So have a look at that if that interests you. But SIT, you're gonna really love. It's one of my favorite courses to teach, and it's just a really, really great course to learn. You're really gonna get a kick out of that. All right. Let's talk in the little time remaining about 3box. 3box is by a complete hero and guru of the corporate innovation world. His name is Professor Vijay Rajan. I don't know if you heard of him. If you're outside of India and outside of corporate innovation, you probably haven't heard of him. But he is, you can see just from a summary of bullet points here, what a brilliant professor he is. Here he's coming to you from Dartmouth University, but I know he's also did work with Harvard, and he's really just a very brilliant man. And what he does is he takes you to the next stage. What happens after your idea is green lighted by management? What happens after you've managed to raise your investment for your startup? How do you implement? How do you avoid the mistakes that most companies don't avoid? I don't know if you know, Syscorp and Intel are some of the biggest killers of startups in the world. They buy startups through a merger and acquisition program, and then they absolutely kill those startups, or they kill internal startups because they just make the most obvious mistakes. For example, how do you judge the performance of a startup compared to the performance of an existing company? Clearly, you can't use the same matrix. Would you all agree with me? Clearly, I can't expect my 2-year-old to behave in the way that my 15-year-old I expect to behave, right? So a startup, whether it's internal or an independent startup, is like a baby. It's just beginning to make its way in the world, and you have to know how to treat it. You have to know how to set expectations. And a lot of times, companies set the wrong expectations from startups and end up killing those startups. Tushan is asking, Tushan, please update yourself to all panelists and attendees so everyone can see your question. Does the course cover design scalability challenges, how new innovation ideas can scale beyond home market. We do talk about that as part of the overall go-to-market, and how we look at, for example, how we look at the path. For example, when we do net present value, right? We want to see how we grow. So there's aspects to scalability as part of our planning, and we do touch upon it. I won't say it's a major part of the course, it's not, but it is definitely touched upon. We will look at it very, very closely in this course, in what is known as reverse innovation. And I don't know if that's what you're talking about, Tushan, but if you are interested in this concept of scaling beyond home market, please look at reverse innovation. This is actually dealt with quite in depth, and this is a concept that was created by Professor Gavin. Reverse innovation says, how can we take ideas developed predominantly in the developing world and take them into the developed world, or into from markets such as India and Southeast Asia and Africa, and develop ideas for those markets, and then sell them in sell those products and services in Western markets. In India, there's lots of, and frugal innovation, exactly. In India, there's lots of really good examples. I think one of the best examples, a lot of really great examples come from India. I think one of the reasons being that the Indian people are just amazingly good at innovation. I'm always so impressed by the Indian mindset and the Indian ability to solve problems, often with very limited resources. So a lot of respect goes out to India and to the innovation there. Reverse innovation is something you will learn about in this course, and we see examples with, for example, electrocardiogram machines that were developed for villages in India to reduce the cost of medical services and make medical services more accessible, then being taken to second-tier markets, such as smaller clinics and ambulances and medical schools in the US and Canada. And so there's lots of great examples, examples such as, anyway, plenty of examples that we will go through. So just to summarize this concept of three box says that box one is your current business, is your performance engine. It's what's giving you revenue currently, and you should definitely innovate that business. But you can't just innovate your current business. You can't just innovate box one. Whilst you're doing that, whilst you're creating revenue from box one, you have to think about the future. You have to start creating the future today. You have to look at what are the weak signals, what's happening, how are new competitors coming into the market, how are regulations changing. Regulations is a huge factor, whatever country you happen to be in. You got to be aware of how the mood, how the zeitgeist, we call that in German, right? The wind of the time, how that is changing, and you will learn how to use these tools to identify these changes in order to create the future business. And we call that box three. Box two is the bridge. Box two is what gets you from your current box one business. Here, the example is New York Times online edition. And also, we see that box two is the bridge to the online edition from the print edition. Okay, so a very, very interesting framework that you will use to learn how to create the future. You can see that even back in the late 90s, New York Times felt that this internet was something that they needed to prepare for back in 1997. And it took them a good 20 years for their revenue from the online edition of New York Times to surpass that from the print edition. And there's plenty of examples like that, and plenty of industries where that is done, and that needs to be done. All right, so again, I don't want to read the slides, but I want to tell you that this is such a unique course. This is such a powerful course, because what it will do is will show you how to move beyond ideation and go to the next stage, which is implementation, and how to ensure that your implementation is successful, how to make sure that you can implement innovative ideas, not just for your current business, but for future businesses that you haven't even thought about yet. And finally, as I said, we put all 3 courses together in the 4th course, which is the Capstone, and over 6 weeks, you will be doing a very in-depth team assignment that takes in all the tools that you've learned in the previous 6 months and 6.5 months, and puts them together into a single assignment. Here's an example of the certificate. You can see it's co-branded with Emeritus and MIT, Columbia, and Dartmouth University's logos as well. Some information about the fees. Again, if you want more information and you have questions, please do contact Emeritus program support, or even ask those questions here now on the Q&A, and they will answer you quite happily. Important dates: the course, the program, the diploma starts on the 30th of June, which is about 12 days from now. And the application deadline is 2 days before that. You can see some pricing information here as well. There's a Emeritus network, which is like an alumni network, which is great because when you join that, you have access to all the graduates of Emeritus program, and lots of benefits as well. It gives you tuition assistance and gives you great networking opportunity. I think we're good. There is no face-to-face in this course, at least currently. I don't know if that would change in the future, Ayub, but currently this is a pure online course, and again, taking advantage of all the great things that online offers. There's a question here on Q&A. You may have answered this question. I see you have it in both places. That's good. What will be the target output of this program for us? What kind of skill set that you will attain? All right, you will come out with knowledge of the best practices used in the top 3 innovation approaches in the world today. 2 of them being strategic, and by the way, being tactical. And don't think there's anything better with tactical. Tactical is still part of a strategy, right? So whenever I do something that's tactical, I still need to understand the strategy, and it's still very effective. Design thinking is a tactical tool used strategically. SIT is a tactical, not tool, collection of tool or collection of methodologies. So you'll come out with a collection of an understanding of things such as, in design thinking, customer journey mapping and personas, and how to build solutions, and how to do prototyping in design thinking. You will learn how to quickly disrupt business models and create new business models for products and services. You will have actual experiences of going end to end in an international, globally dispersed team to solve real world challenges. You will have, and that's not even mentioning all the soft skills that you get along the way from all the team working work that you do. And you'll come out, in my opinion, what is one of the most decisive and important elements that most, pretty much all, I would say, innovation diplomas miss, and that is an understanding of strategic innovation and how to apply innovation strategically. What is usually the average cohort size? The last cohort sizes I've been working with have been between 40 to 80 people. So it doesn't get too big. It's kept quite small. Team sizes are recommended to be between 4 to 5 people within a team. I assume this is a case, I'm just reading a question. I assume that this is a case-based training with hands. Absolutely, Antonius. It's both, actually. It's not just case-based. You get cases, examples, but you actually do real challenges that you solve as a team, and you present your solutions. And we've even had teams going forward and forming small companies to try and actually create startups from their ideas as well. So that's something that happens too, worth keeping in mind. Question from Guatam: how many cohorts have already started this course? Program support is going to give you an answer for that. For me, it will require a calculation. But I don't want to be wrong, because I'm going to be more or less correct. Whereas I think program support can give you an exact answer, and it's typing an answer for that. Wonderful. Sanjeev, I didn't see what the answer was. Let me see so I can answer it. This will be the 11th cohort that will start on 30th June 2021, says program support. So there's an answer to that question. Question by Sanjeev: I've completed design thinking module separately. Do we get credit discount for it rather than repeat it? Yes, and I will ask program support, Sanjeev, to type in an answer to your question so everyone can see. But if you've already done design thinking, that's obviously taken into account. You don't have to repeat it unless, of course, you want to. And it does have give you credit discounting. But for the details, I will ask program support to answer you here on chat. Antonis, do you have consulting works? Do you have consulting works that may let us jump into as your students and potentially part of your remote consultants as well? I guess you're asking, Antonis, about work experience with the consulting company that I run. You're more than welcome, and this goes to everybody. You're more than welcome to connect with me on LinkedIn. It's very, very easy. It's Eli Itin. I always keep in touch with my students who want to keep in touch after the course, and definitely we can discuss potential collaboration and working together. And if you just want to connect with me, just so that you are familiar with someone who's one of the experts on innovation today, leading experts, and I say that with modesty, then you're more than welcome to connect with me as well. I'm being told that an IT business analyst looking to become an. Okay, wonderful. So do contact me separately on LinkedIn. I'm happy to answer any questions that are not related specifically to Emeritus. I think we are done in terms of time, so I think that we are going to wrap it up. If you still have any questions, do please contact program support. Emeritus panelists may want to give another one more time an email to contact. You will get it. You will get this deck, so you can even click on the deck to apply for the program. That will take you to it as well. I'm being asked, what sort of job opportunities are there after this course? That's great. So job opportunities, obviously within innovation departments, which is a growing field, in product management, in marketing, I would say that pretty much every professional field today, if you have innovation knowledge and experience, which you get in this course, in this diploma, by the way, you don't just get the knowledge, you get the experience. If you have that behind you, that's just a major boost to your current career path, whatever that is. But if you're looking at specific jobs, like Andrea says, yes, product design, definitely. Service design is another job, but also a lot of business-related jobs, not just specifically design jobs. Sanjeev, if I've read Inside the Box book, is there additional value in taking the SIT course? Also, I don't know if that's a serious question or not. I guess it's like saying if I read a book on medicine, is it worth studying medicine? I think definitely reading the book is important. You're going to get insights from the book. You're not going to get anywhere near the value you would get from doing this course, doing assignments with the group, doing the quizzes. A book simply doesn't give you that, and I think that's pretty obvious answer. There's some questions here about the discounts, and I can see that's being answered. Wonderful. Okay, I hope that answers everyone's questions. Again, if you have additional questions, don't hesitate to write to Emeritus asking about that. The really lovely people there. Everyone I know in product support are just truly professional and lovely. And I can tell you on a personal basis, I really enjoy working with these people at Emeritus. Um, and I hope to see you in the upcoming design thinking course. You're really going to enjoy the diploma. It's just a start, a Kickstarter to so many positive and wonderful things. So thank you all for joining. Thank you for participating. Thank you for your engagement and asking questions. And I really appreciate that. Appreciate your time, and appreciate that you came and joined us. And I'm really looking forward to seeing you in our next cohort for this diploma, starting with design thinking. And thank you to everyone in Emeritus panelists who have been answering the other questions coming as well. And please stay safe, stay well. And I really look forward to seeing you all and connecting with you all one more time. All the very best. Looking forward. Bye bye.